Hey everyone, Michael here. Get fit over 40. Kind of a walk and talk, but this is going to be, it's not a short, it's going to be full length YouTube video. I might make a short out of it, a little one quickly, just to get people to the main video. We'll see. But yeah, so just want to talk about sort of some of my expectations, what my goals have been for this show. So the Vancouver Open Regionals here. That's going to be in Abbotsford in a little less than 2 weeks. Car going by. So, last year I kind of decided, not last minute, but I didn't have a lot of time to prep for the show. It's just, again, it wasn't a last minute choice, but I really didn't give myself a lot of time. I kind of decided, I think it was like 5 weeks out or something, that I was going to do the show. And, I had in my mind at the time, a little bit before that I might be doing the show. So I was starting to get a little more serious about, making sure I was training a little more religiously and eating a little bit better, trying to trim off a little bit of weight, prior to the 5 weeks. But I wasn't really going hard or doing anything extensively, right? It's just an idea. So this prep is different. It's been almost 3 months from start to finish from the time that I really decided, okay, let's do this. So I've definitely had more time. I feel like I'm holding a little more muscle. Last time I was just getting back into the gym. Well, not getting back, but just getting back to where I kind of was at the gym. Still not quite I'm still not as strong as I used to be. I don't push as hard. I don't, I'm a lot more careful with the TRT and all that, and that's going to affect how big I get. And I'm actually getting people now, I've had a few comments where people say I've downsized and, maybe I'm a little too lean, or they might like the look that I had before, the little bit bigger look, maybe not as lean all the time, but, oh, got a biker coming by. Hey, people liked that bigger look, and part of me likes that bigger look. My wife kind of likes the, bigger mic, a little more intimidating. It is what it is. But, this look that I have right now is definitely more healthy, being a little leaner, maybe not quite holding as much muscle as I used to back in the day, but I don't feel that much weaker than I used to be. In a couple lifts, for sure, I'm not quite as strong as I used to be. Shoulders have been a bit of a challenge for me since the heart operation. It's taken quite a while to get my shoulder strength back, and my chest, but it's coming back. Chest is definitely coming back. Doing bench a little more often and lifting 225 again for sets and reps, which is nice. Took a while to get there. Shoulder press, not quite as strong as it used to be. Shoulders definitely not as strong as they used to be, but I have been struggling for many years now with my right shoulder, with fairly decent impingement. There's always some sort of shoulder pain there, so that makes it difficult when you're doing exercises, and there's always that little irritating pain that's going on while you're doing the exercise. It makes it a little tougher to really push. I try to push through it, but it is harder. It's just harder. Not making excuses. It's just part of life when you're 56. You're going to have a few little injuries and pains and limited range of motion and all that kind of stuff. That's okay. We got a big, huge dump truck or some sort of garbage truck coming by. Maple Leaf. Yeah, so, my aspirations, my whole idea with this show was to just try to bring a little more size than last year. Last year, definitely, I was the smallest guy on stage in terms of muscle, but I think, one of the more conditioned, or maybe even the most conditioned, at least in my categories that I was in. And I felt that was what I was trying to do last year, was just really get fit, really get lean, see if I could push my body through that. That's hard. Getting lean like that, stage ready, is not easy. It's hard on the body, and a lot of people can't do it. And I'm very fortunate because I do stay pretty relatively lean all year round. So getting that extra bit. Lean isn't as hard for me as it is for some that have a lot more weight to lose. You know, they start out at, say, 20% body fat and try to get down to 6 or 7, and it's like once they hit 12 or so, it's like it starts to slow down so much. I'm usually hanging out around 12 all year round, you know, in the off season. So for me to get down to 6 or 7 is really not that hard. I'm there right now, so I just need to drop a couple more points to get down into the 5s. And it's just a little tiny bit more body fat in certain places that I need to lose. It'll be about 4 to 5 pounds of fat altogether in 2 weeks. But it really makes a difference in how you look in those areas that are holding on to it for that last little bit, right? And for me, those areas are going to be a little bit of my back, obviously a little bit around the lower part of my waist, you know, love handles, just the front lower abs hold on to it the most, right to the end. And even for me, my face actually holds on to fat right to the very end, you know, which is good in a way because I don't get that death face through most of my cut. I look still pretty healthy if you look at me, and, you know, my face is not just gaunt and, you know, skeletal looking. It does get that way right at the end when I get that last bit of fat off. But my expectations, you know, honestly, going into this show, I don't have any expectations. I really don't. I mean, in terms of placing, I don't have any expectations. In terms of my expectations, I'm already meeting them in terms of where I am right now, where I'm probably going to be. Would have liked to have put on a little more muscle. I thought I might have been able to. I did work pretty hard, you know, to do that. And, you know, I did plan my TRT a little bit strategically to try to, you know, basically crescendo it. And I've explained this in other videos, but what I do is, say 3 months out, is I'll take a little more, you know, double it up or whatever for a couple months, but then I literally stop taking it 1 month out to get any residual water retention out. And at that point, you know, the testosterone, the little bit higher dose you've been taking for the 2 months, it takes a good month for that. You know, you see the effects of the testosterone a month later. So that 2 months of, call it a mini blast if you want, of doubling it up, gives me a little bit of a bump in terms of muscle, but it's not much. I might gain a couple more pounds. It's not a big deal, but it does help, right? And then you get that bump that kind of crescendos right for the show, and then the testosterone kind of, the effects of it tail off. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we're getting close there to where I get the crescendo of the testosterone. But I've been off of the testosterone now for like 3 weeks. So, oh, there's a little tin there. Yeah, but I still feel good because when you double it up, you know, you get a little extra in your system that hangs out a little longer because of the way half-life works. It takes a little bit. It takes a good month to get out of your system completely, or mostly completely, so you have really low levels. And it's okay for me to have a low level going into the show because I don't want to have a lot of estrogen water retention anyways. And so that all works out. And then you get back on it after the show. So technically, let's say if my TRT dose was a 150, let's just say that's what it was, and I double it up 300 for 2 months and then 0 for 1 month, you've basically increased your testosterone. So instead of doing 150, 150, 150 for 3 months, which is 450, you do 300, 300, 0, which is 600. So over the course of 3 months, you're basically taking a total of 50 milligrams more per month than you normally would be. So it's a very small bump in the scheme of things. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to put a big stress on my heart. I just don't want to do it. I'm not willing to, you know, for me, my hemoglobin goes up when my testosterone dose goes up, more than maybe some others. So I got to be careful with that, because when your hemoglobin and your red blood cells go up, then your blood actually becomes more thick, like dense wise. It becomes more like viscous, or whatever you want to call it. So thick, not just clotting wise. It's not a clotting thing. It's the actual density of the blood, which raises your blood pressure it makes it harder on the heart, and that's something I need to avoid. My blood pressure has been pretty good, so I know that I haven't actually had my blood work done in a little bit, but I can tell you, based on how I feel and how my blood pressure is, my hemoglobin couldn't be crazy high, that's for sure, because otherwise my blood pressure would be higher. And at this point, I am still getting the occasional dizzy spell when I get up and stuff, which indicates for me that my blood pressure is a bit low. I get that sometimes when my blood pressure is low. I get up a little too quickly. I got to kind of rest on something for a second, get my bearings, but that's kind of normal for me when my blood pressure is where it needs to be. Yeah, so, I know some people might be disappointed that I'm not the big, bulky Mike. I probably won't ever be that guy again. I'll go switch hands here. It's getting numb. But, I have to look at my health. I feel better leaner, to be honest. I just feel better. My stomach always feels better when I'm not eating a ton of food and eating a little more healthy to stay leaner. I feel my face looks better because when I gain weight in my face. I gain some cheeks. My cheeks get kind of puffy, and my jowl starts to come out a little bit more there. So for me, I don't mind looking a little bit leaner. I think I look younger when I'm a little bit leaner. So yeah, maybe not as big, but that's okay. Still pretty strong for an old guy. So again, expectations for this show, just come in the best version of me, however that is. Whatever size I can get to is what I'll get to. And if I place really, really well, which I have no idea, but if I do, and I'm talking like first, I'm not going to go to the next. So after this show, 2 weeks later, there's another show. It's the one where it's not the regionals. So basically you need to place probably top 3 in this show or something like that, and then you can go to the next show. But if you let's say if I place 3rd in this show, what am I going to get in the next show that's actually got more, like harder competition, even fitter people showing up? So unless I do really well, and by that I mean like I get a first in my category, and comparatively I feel like I look really good compared to the other guys, then I might do that next show, which gives me another 2 weeks where I could maybe put on another pound or two. Do the rebound. Sometimes after a show, you can do this little post-rebound thing where you throw a bunch of carbs and food in you for 4 or 5 days, and you get a real crazy boost. Like your metabolism just absorbs all of this food and just creates tissue like so quickly. It's pretty crazy. You can put on a lot of muscle after a show because you're just eating, and as long as you don't eat too stupid and you're careful, then you can put muscle on instead of fat. So we'll see. Maybe I can come in a couple pounds heavier for the next show, and which I'd probably need because it's going to be a higher class of athletes. But yeah, so that's where we're at. I'm excited. I do this for me. I do this as a challenge. It keeps my mind busy. I like to have goals. I don't find these contest preps that difficult, to be honest. Not as hard as a lot of people do. And since my heart surgery, it's even gotten easier. Like before the heart surgery, it was getting harder and harder. But now it's just gotten to this point where it's not that hard for me. I mean, again, because I stay pretty lean year round, I don't have to push it so hard. I just got to dial in the diet, make sure the training is on par, it's on point, and and everything usually comes together pretty nicely. Of course, at the very end, I'll start to get pretty fatigued as I get leaner and leaner, and the calories drop and the activity goes up, but that's to be expected. Okay, so I don't know, hopefully I covered everything today. It's definitely a beautiful day. We're going to be just walking a couple miles here and then heading home. All right. Thanks for watching another GetFitOver40.com video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, take care.